Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Pikeville City Commissioners Report. I'm Shannon Deskins and with Commissioner Barry Cheney today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Shannon. It's been a while since we've got to do a show.
It has, and by the notes I have in front of me you can tell we've got a lot to talk about.
I've had a 40-pound winter and a lot to do. So.
I mean, just looking, it's an exciting thing every time you and I sit down to do this.
Oh, it is. It is.
Because there's so much good news in an economy that's just around us is going bad. It seems like the Pikeville City just continues to grow.
It does, Shannon, and I can't remember in the past 10 years that we've been any more busier than what we are right now at this time.
You know, and that says a lot for, the commission and our city manager and just everybody working together. Because, the landscape, the skyscape, or whatever you want to call it, of the city is constantly changing with the new buildings and the new construction everywhere.
It is, and that goes to the ability to work together and experience. I mean, all those things work together to generate progress and economic development.
And it's coming. And then even personnel changes and people advancing and being recognized for some of the stuff that they've done. For example, in a city police department.
City police department, Paul Kimberlin was promoted to sergeant. Well-deserved promotion. I've known Paul, well, since he was a little boy. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, but I have. Comes from a great family. And Paul Kimberlin, his fellow officers will tell you, if there is a hostile situation, Paul Kimberlin is the man that they want with them if they go into that. Very knowledgeable of the law, and so it's a very deserved promotion for Paul.
I've known him for a long time also, so he's a upstanding citizen, great officer, so that says a lot for him.
Certainly is, and strong as an ox.
They all are.
Yes.
They all are. I wouldn't want to cross any of them.
No, I wouldn't either.
He's got a good force.
I don't. That's the reason I obey my traffic laws.
There you go. And then, talking about his promotion, well, you had someone recognized statewide.
Well, we had Carolyn Thacker, she was recognized statewide. She's the Senior Citizens Director here in the city of Pikeville, and she was recognized as Director of the Year. And our Senior Citizen Center here in Pikeville, I think they have 360-some meals that they serve in-house, and then 168 meals that they deliver to the home.
Wow.
And a lot of those folks, that's the only hot meal that they'll get that day, and probably the only social interaction that they'll get that day. A lot of those folks will. So she's the driving force behind keeping all that organized. She is, and she is a dynamo. I'm telling you, she's just fabulous. Well, congratulations to her, Director of the Year. Director of the Year. So congratulations, Carolyn Thacker, for that. Yes. And then moving quickly to the next thing, promotions and everything that's going on. Well, we've got a new coffee shop opening right close to here, right in the middle of downtown. I'll tell you, I love this. I love this. This is the prime example of what Pikeville is all about, and the entrepreneur spirit that's alive in so many Eastern Kentuckians. Jamie and Michelle Sword, they told me that they drove around forever trying to find a building that would be perfect for this, and they looked at so many, and they would say no, and they heard about this building, and Jamie looked at Michelle and said, "This is it. This is the one. This is the place." And they submitted a proposal. They were one out of 3 proposals that went before the Main Street Board, and they won. Their proposal was accepted, and they have just been on fire ever since. They're working themselves to death up there. That's the roasted coffee shop and cafe that's going to be. It is right on Hambley Boulevard. Yes, and they wanted to go in business. They wanted to go in business in Pikeville. That's economic development. That's providing a service. They're right next to the college or the University of Pikeville. They're right next to. It's a hard habit to break. Oh yes, it is. That'll cost me $5. See, if you start doing stuff like that, then when it starts hitting you, then you start remembering things. Yes, and there you go. It does. Now they were at the opening of Jenny Wiley last Thursday. They had a tea latte in there, and Michelle said they made 1.5 gallons of that, and that was all gone in no time. And everybody that drank some of that were just talking and raving about how good that was. So I'm going to be a regular customer of theirs. They're going to have wraps and sandwiches and all kinds of things like that. And they've signed an agreement with Alltech.
Mm-hmm.
Alltech, I forget the name of the little country, but a third world country that raises coffee. Alltech brings their coffee to market and sends the profits back, and Roasted is going to be serving some of their coffee. And so they'll be part of the Alltech plan.
Which is going to be more than what we know.
It is.
I think there's going to be, from what I hear, and you know, Donovan, the city manager, he's pretty tight-lipped about things, and no matter how hard you try to pull it out of him, it's hard. But I have gotten the idea that I think there's more to Alltech than just what we've heard.
Oh, there is, and believe me, I don't want to be the tell-all, but they are a tremendous company. They're a $7 billion international company. They market to 123 different countries. They are not only are they a distillery, a brewery, but they are one of the largest feed companies in the nation. Mm-hmm. And they work off that. They are big in education. They're going to be doing things with the University of Pikeville. I'm sure that they'll find a way to do something with Pikeville High School.
I'm
and
sure.
They will be working with the county schools as well, I'm sure, because they are interested in having a trained, well-prepared workforce, and education does that for you.
Dr. Pierce Lyons, that's his company. I mean, I actually heard him speak a few years ago when they were coming through Pikeville. For the first time a lot of people heard of Alltech on a big scale was when they had the World Equestrian Games in Lexington a few years ago, and it was the Alltech World Equestrian Games, and they were doing a tour, and they came through Pikeville to promote that, and I actually got to hear Dr. Lyons speak, and he is an amazing speaker. But then when you get to know some of his background, I mean, he's just an amazing businessman.
He is brilliant, a brilliant man, and you know,
he's from Ireland.
He is.
And he's got the thick accent,
Well,
which you love to hear him speak.
You know, he relates to us. He mentioned our bluegrass music. We talk, or as we call it, but he calls it folk music, and it reminds him of Ireland. And you know, we've got a lot of Scotch-Irish in this area.
Most of us, I think, can trace that back. I know I can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's personal to him.
Yes, it is.
And that's what makes it exciting, because it's not just, well, I'm going to come in and try to start a business or whatever. He's made it personal to where he wants to make an investment into the community on several levels, which lets me think, you know, this is going to be successful because he's not going to let it fail.
Right. And you know, Shannon, I remember, it's been a couple of years now, but I remember making the statement on this show that if anybody wants to invest in Eastern Kentucky, and they look at everybody, I think when they look at what we do and what we've done in Pikeville, they'll want to come to Pikeville. And I believe that's come to pass for us.
Well, I mean, they're going to look at Pikeville and say, look what they're doing on their own. They're finding a way to diversify and to bring jobs in. You know, and it would be so easy to sit down and say, oh, poor pitiful us, and oh, the coal industry isn't doing well. Oh, I hate that. But the city has taken that and said, you know, we're not going to just sit here. And anybody that, like you said, is going to come in from out of town is going to see that they've taken it upon themselves to pull themselves up. So that's a community I want to work with.
It is, and you know, this is not only important to Pikeville, but it's also important to the region. You know, one thing the City Commission understands, probably more so than people would realize, is that the region, Pike County, has to succeed before Pikeville succeeds.
Right.
We're in this all together, and you know, we're doing everything we can, but it will only last if everybody can succeed with it.
Right. It's a regional thing.
It is a regional thing, and you know, the iron range workers at the SOAR meeting, you know, what they said hit home so hard that we've got to quit thinking that our enemy is 10 miles down the road because of the ball game that was played last year. that's not the enemy. That's your friend. That's somebody that's going to help you succeed. And we've got to help each other succeed. We've got to help Belfry succeed. Belfry has to help us. Same with Phelps, Elkhorn, Coal Run, and the surrounding counties. We've got 5 new county judges, and we've got to reach out to them. They have to reach out to us. We've got to work together. We've got a serious situation, and we've got a good start at solving things. So I'm getting off my soapbox.
No, it's okay. But you know, you touched on something. We just had a recent election, and a lot of changes are going to happen in leadership throughout the region, not just Pike County, because we're going to see our own change in some leadership, but the whole region, you know, is going to have to come together and learn to work together with the whole new administration. So, but I feel pretty positive about things.
I do too. I feel very, very positive about everything, and you know, I'm looking forward to 2015.
It's going to be a good year.
It is going to be a good year, and we're off to a good start. And I would love to see a lot of this stuff get done and go on to something else.
Start on Plan B. Just going back to finishing up what we had talked about Alltech, the announcement that was made within the last couple of weeks was about the brewery and the distillery that's going to be in downtown Pikeville, in the old, I guess, Thacker Funeral Home.
The old Thacker
Before
Funeral
that,
Home.
It was J.W. Call, right?
Right.
Okay, that's way back.
That's way back. We don't want to go too far.
I don't want to say how far I can remember, but I read somewhere.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, you know, I'm not a drinker, and you know, some people may have some problems with that. But you know, we've got 8,000 laid off coal miners, and as we were talking before the show, you know, a lot of those folks are 2 weeks away from being broke, and we've got to find jobs. The past 2 years, I've had more people ask me about work or where they can find a job than I have in the past 10 years, and you know, this is a start. This is something that, like I said, $7 billion company coming in town. This is a start. I think other people say, well, Alltech's there, why don't we go? And you know, the Marion's Branch property, we're going to get the bridge across. We're going to market that property nationally, and it's one of the top-rated industrial parks in the state. And so we feel very well that we may be able to get something else up there.
I have heard so many positive things about the Marion's Branch property, talking to you or Jimmy Carter or Donovan even, you know, about businesses that are interested in that, and talking about just how good that, or how much potential that property has. So I guess we're getting ready to put a bridge in to just help things, speed things along, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to have the bridge. We'll have a road to the top of the hill. We'll have sewage up there. We'll have water up there. We're going to see about maybe getting fiber up there. Potential rail service at the bottom of the hill. So there's a lot of good things, positives about that. Got 3-phase power that goes up there. A lot of positive things. You've got natural gas on site. So you know, it's perfect for industrial, which, you know, as you know, we were going to use it for housing, but right now we need jobs worse than we need the housing, and so we're working on that. We're going to try to recruit some more companies in, and
hoping for good things. Got your fingers crossed.
Well, not only I just believe that it's going to happen. I think that we're going to be able to pull it off. I really do.
I hope so. And you were talking about housing. Well, we don't have to worry about at least 175 new apartments.
Well, that's true.
Because those are hitting the skyline. That, we're talking about Pikeville Commons.
That's right.
And anybody who's in the area of Walmart or Texas Roadhouse, or even on US 23, and you look across the river, you're like, what shot up? I mean, it literally has shot up out of the ground.
It has. And, you know, what I find so unusual and encouraging about Pikeville Commons is 80% of the apartments, the 175 apartments that they're building, are already promised. And so they've only got 20% left to rent, and I from what I understand, they're not having any problem with them.
No, and that is another thing when you talk about how jobs are going downhill and all, but you've got so many people that are coming into town, whether it be students doing their postgraduate work, whether they're in the medical school or whatever, that can use those, and there are people that are coming in here and work with the banking industry or the medical field.
Well,
So to say that 175, the 80% of apartments that aren't even built yet are already filled, that's promising.
it is promising, and it should be encouraging to anybody that's got rental property. If you're thinking, wow, that's going to put a strain on the rental property in Pikeville, it's not at all. In fact, it's just filling a very, very needed void that has to be done.
Yeah, I know several people within the last month who have said, I'm trying to find a place to rent, I'm having a hard time.
Right.
So even with Pikeville Commons, I mean, we're still going to be fine on getting all your rental properties filled. So.
Oh yeah, it's and the demand is going to keep going. You've got the optometry school, and there's more talks about further expansion with UPike. You've got doctors coming in. You've got more nurses coming in. As you mentioned, the bank. Just on and on and on. And then you've got the Pikeville Commons. There'll be people coming in for that. You've got Alltech. You'll have people moving in for the positions there. So it's really our rental property is probably a little bit below what we need right now. We probably could use quite a bit more, and I don't see that doing anything but that demand grow or doing anything but grow. It's just unbelievable what's going on in Pikeville.
Now, talking about Pikeville Commons, some store announcements may be coming soon.
I have been
maybe
told,
late this summer if we're lucky.
I have been told towards the end of August, could possibly as early as that, and October for sure. And so, I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. And,
I'm looking forward to seeing that whole area once it's finished. It's just going to be one of those you can eat where you live and get out and walk and just be just a cute little neighborhood type place.
Well, I was talking to my wife about that not long ago, how neat that would be to live down there, and it would, just get out and walk in the evenings and shopping, restaurants, all that, and it would just be so convenient.
I think that's going to be a really neat area.
It is, and Neil Wilson, the developer, told us at the outset of this that we would be really proud of this development because it was going to have a lot of look to it. It's going to be real nice, he said. And so he's got quite the reputation around the country. And so we've seen some of his work, and it's looks good. So we're anxious to see how that looks, the finished product looks.
And keeping on with the same theme of talking about apartments and housing and things like that, we just had the big grand opening for the Scholar House.
We did.
Even though they've been open for a little while, we had the official inviting the public in and doing the grand opening.
Yeah, well, I had to work. I couldn't get off to come to that, but Mayor Pro Tem Carter was there to speak on behalf of the city, and they told me about a young lady that just told her story and how it just almost wasn't a dry eye at the event. And this is not only about the parent, but it's also about the child. Nothing pulls a child out of poverty better than an educated parent who is able to find a better job. And one of the things going on in America today, the distance between, or the wage gap between a high school education and a college education is widening every day.
Yeah.
And with that wage gap, children of parents that have a degree tend to get a degree themselves, and they tend to do better than the parent. So, the Scholar House is just a tremendous investment. It breaks the poverty cycle, breaks that social cycle that keeps kids or keeps people trapped.
And in case anybody who's watching isn't familiar with the Scholar House, it's apartments for single parents who are enrolled in college full time.
Right.
And I just did an interview with Samantha Rogers, the director of the Scholar House, and it was amazing to know a lot of the facts that I didn't know. It's not just for women.
Right.
It's not just for single mothers.
Oh,
They've actually got a man, a single father, who's getting ready to move in.
Right.
And that's something you have to think, wow. But it's not just for single mothers, single fathers. I mean, anybody, and it's not just for young people. It doesn't matter what your age is. If you're a single parent and you're going back to school and you're enrolled full time, that's maybe an opportunity for you.
It is. And you know, Shannon, giving somebody that opportunity with 1 or 2 children, they have got a good opportunity to succeed. But when that parent has 3 children, their chances become slimmer. With 4 children, because there's time involved with child care and the cost of daycare, with 4 children it becomes almost impossible for them to succeed. So early success is the key.
And knowing that the partnership with the Scholar House and the Pikeville YMCA for child care is also right there, and it's on that property.
Right.
I mean, that is just such an opportunity, and it doesn't have to be. They have to be enrolled in school full time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be UPike. And that's another misconception that's out there, is that it's a UPike building. They do work with UPike. However, as long as they're enrolled in an accredited college or university, which in the area would be Big Sandy Community and Technical College or University of Pikeville.
Yeah. And they told me that they were going to grow. They've got some plans, and they're planning on growing their campus a little bit. So, you know, just
little friendly competition among education.
Well, I don't know if you could call it competition as much as filling the need.
Right.
And you know, the need is here. Pikeville's growing, needs more skilled people, and that need is continuing.
And the last time that we spoke about Scholar House was a couple weeks ago, and I think they still had about 20 apartments that were available.
Yeah.
So we can get that information out there as far as who to contact and how to get that ball rolling if you are watching and you're a single parent and you either are enrolled in school full time or you want to get enrolled in school full time. We can get that information out to you as well. So those are available now, sort of like Pikeville Commons. You know, you're going to have to move on it pretty quickly, or you're not gonna get that. More growth, and that seems to be the whole thing we're talking about is moving forward. The wastewater treatment plant.
Wastewater treatment plant. Oh man, that is something.
I mean, that's a had-to project. We had to do that.
That is a had-to project. Before all this development started, we were at 94%. We were warned by a utility management group that we were going to have to do something. So the design that we decided on was the membrane system. This is going to be the first one in Kentucky. The water that comes out will be almost pure enough to drink. So not only are we protecting Pikeville against the EPA now, we're protecting future generations against the EPA and being, I guess, responsible as well. And so the funding, we have a $4.5 million grant from the USDA. Rural Development is giving us a $10.5 million loan, leaves us, I think, $5 million short on the project yet, and we're working hard to find some more grants for that. We've got some other sources that we're looking at, and things are looking pretty good about getting that money together, getting that package together.
Well, that's good, because we've been talking for, I guess, a couple of years about how we were at capacity or nearing capacity and have hit it, I think, pretty much for our current system.
Well, you know, the beauty of this system is, Shannon, we get to stay in the same footprint. We don't have to move anywhere else. We're going to expand to 4 million gallons, which we have a 2 million gallon plant today, which I'm sure that 20 years ago when that was built, you know, nobody would have thought that we would have needed more than 2 million, but we're going to be able to expand that to 4 million, and it can go even to 6 million. So it's going to be future commissions will not have to wrestle with this problem for many years to come, unless they experience the amount of growth that we have in the next.
And that's been a little bit of stress for you all, figuring out how to, like we said, it had to be done. You just had to find the way.
Yes, and it seems like that that we just dig in. You've got Donovan Blackburn, who's like a pit bull dog, just keeps digging, and so he's and he gets a hold of a source. He just hangs on till he gets what he wants.
Well, it's worked well for the city so far, so
it has.
it's a good thing.
I'll tell you, what's going on in the city of Pikeville past 10 years is just amazing to me. And I drive down Hamley Boulevard, and I just can't believe the change.
Everything's changing for the better.
Yes, it is. Yeah, very much so.
Before we end, I want to touch on, you guys are working on the budget.
Yes.
And you've got, you're going to vote on it soon, I think.
We'll have a special call commission meeting this Friday, and we'll vote on it more than likely then. This is a great budget. It's pretty much along the same lines of last year, but the bright spot is that we have, since 2010 to date, our occupational tax has increased by $1 million. Not because the rate has gone up, but because there are that many more jobs.
The growth.
In Pikeville, the growth. That's what's caused that number to raise. We're paying down debt. We've got projects going. Everybody's coming under budget or within their budget proposals. Each department came, and everybody their big ticket items that they've all wanted or needed. We're going to be able to afford to get that, and they're all coming under budget. We've been conservative. We have the hotel tax. Tanya raised that projection by 10,000 up to 200,000, and she says that's a conservative figure. So our entertainment industry and everything is paying off.
Well, that's good. I mean, everything's working together. Speaking of entertainment, a couple things to quickly mention. Jenny Wiley Theater.
Jenny Wiley.
The inside is pretty much ready to go, even though the outside we've still got some work to do.
It is, and we went to the opening last week. Great. If you haven't been to see the Church Basement Ladies, the skit that they did last week, just a portion of it, it was fantastic. And the inside of that theater, I mean, it's designed for sound.
Acoustics is wonderful.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait. It's voice, designed for voice. So I can't wait to hear a concert going on there. They had jazz music before the skit, and that just sounded wonderful in there. It's just so well designed, put together. Everybody's so happy with it, and I couldn't tell you how many people were talking about how great that is to have that in there. Even Pierce Lyons commented on it.
Oh, really? Dr. Lyons?
Yes, so when he was told that we had asked what that was, and they told him it was a theater, and he commented how progressive the City Commission of Pikeville was to have a theater in Pikeville.
There you go. And I guess that's a good note to end on, because we have run out of time.
Well, that's a shame, Shannon, because there are so many projects that we could continue to discuss, and they relate one with another, and they're the product of commission meetings for the past 5 years. When you get involved in this part of it, it seems like you just keep building on the foundation that you've laid 2 weeks before, and it's just a wonderful time for Pikeville.
So we've left everybody wondering what we're going to talk about next. So we'll pick up on that the next time you and I sit down to meet.
Well, we will, but I think Mayor Pro Tem Carter will probably be on next, and I'm sure that he'll have plenty to talk about.
We always do.
Oh yes.
Well, thank you very much, Barry Cheney, City Commissioner, for talking with us today.
Thank you, Shannon.
I've enjoyed having you.
Enjoyed being here.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for another edition of the Pikeville City Commissioners Report. I'm Shannon Deskins.